CM Punk is reportedly expected to be on AEW Dynamite this week in Chicago, with the Elite not expected to be present ahead of the go-home edition of Dynamite before Forbidden Door this coming weekend. Jim Ross steps away from commentary after apologizing for the way he sounded during AEW Collision this past weekend. An update on the proposed AEW roster split. Kevin Kelly made his AEW debut this weekend at Collision, but he could be set to miss several upcoming episodes of AEW Collision. We'll let you know why. Kenta says that a match against CM Punk at Forbidden Door is not happening. We've also got an update as to why AEW and Warner Bros. Discovery chose the specific date for AEW to a Collision to premiere on. Also an update on MJF as he's responded to Hiroshi Tanahashi for misspelling his name over the weekend. Andrade has responded to the House of Black after they attacked him during AEW Collision. An update on Goldberg's retirement tour, and it could feature an AEW talent. Bandito says that he broke his wrist during AEW Rampage last week. Lance Archer responds to CM Punk's soft comments on AEW Collision last weekend, and also Danhausen explains why he missed the first episode of AEW Collision. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling. Let's start off talking about CM Punk possibly being on AEW Dynamite this week. According to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, AEW Collision is off to a hot start, and we might be in for more of the same on Wednesday. As expected, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega were not in Chicago for AEW Collision on June 17. However, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select is reporting that Fightful have heard they may also not be in Chicago at all, and that includes for this week's AEW Dynamite at the Wintrust Arena, also in Chicago. Fightful have been told that there were pre-tapes done to progress some of their angles, but that there's a good chance they're not in the arena. Instead, CM Punk, who made his return at Collision on Saturday, may be showing up on Wednesday, though that has not been officially announced as of right now. As of this weekend, those close to Punk claimed that he was planned for the June 21st show. Punk, of course, made his return to wrestling on the June 17 AEW Collision show. So again, certainly very interesting that Punk could be in attendance this Wednesday, and that means that the Elite won't be. What are your thoughts on that, and what are your thoughts on the Elite missing the final Dynamite before Forbidden Door this coming weekend? Jim Ross was on commentary for the main event of AEW Collision, but it looks like he's not going to be on commentary any further for AEW, at least for the foreseeable future. Following his performance on commentary during the main event of AEW Collision, Jim Ross has issued an apology on Twitter. Quote, "I apologize for the way I sounded tonight. Going to step away to heal. Thanks for your support," the tweet read. During the show's Trios main event, Ross joined Kevin Kelly and Nigel McGuinness to call CM Punk's return match. However, Ross's voice sounded off from his usual. Earlier on in the day, Ross had posted a photo of himself with a black eye he sustained in a fall. Despite the jarring injury, Ross was still present for the main event of Collision. Ross joked with Kelly and McGuinness that his hoarse voice was caused by his excitement for the main event. The main event of Collision featured the in-ring return of Punk, who cut a promo to open the show. The match featured Punk and AEW Tag Team Champions FTR taking on Switchblade Jay White, Juice Robinson, and the Ring of Honor World Television Champion Samoa Joe. Ultimately, Punk and FTR picked up the win after Punk hit Robinson with the GTS to get the victory. For the majority of Collision, the commentary booth consisted of Kelly, well known for his work with New Japan Pro Wrestling, alongside McGuinness, well known for his commentary work in WWE for NXT. Tony Khan announced the duo on Friday, revealing they will make up the commentary team for the Saturday night broadcast moving forward. Ross, meanwhile, is expected to join them at times to provide his expert analysis. So wish JR the best in his recovery. What did you think of his commentary at the weekend, and what do you think about his future when it comes to commentary moving forward? Now, this is quite an interesting one when it comes to the roster split. With the introduction of AEW Collision, lots of people had asked about this potential roster split, a brand separation, whatever you want to call it. It was at one point something that AEW had considered. Of course, as of right now, nothing's been set in stone. Well, according to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, AEW has gone back and forth about the potential of a roster split, with Tony Khan saying not as of now in recent interviews. Now, Fightful have said that they've learned since a bit more about it. As far as back a month ago, there were preparations and details sent out in All Elite Wrestling indicating that there would be two distinct rosters for Collision and Dynamite. However, there were special exemptions to be made, especially for champions. The move at the time was met with mixed reactions internally. There were several wrestlers who weren't happy they'd be missing out on signings and independent bookings, which is something AEW has long looked at as a luxury, as AEW is the first priority on all of their contracted talents. However, there were some that were happy about the move as an effort to minimize the drama and backstage squabbles that we've heard about over the last several years in All Elite Wrestling. Originally planned for a hard split, some on the roster were told it would be a softer split before being told there would be some natural sharing between the rosters. Warner Bros. Discovery sources that Fightful spoke to said that they preferred no split, but under the right circumstances, anything could work. Now, Fightful have been told that the transfer portal trademark was supposed to be in relation to the brand split, but they've tabled that idea for the time being. So, as of right now, there is no brand split or roster split. It could happen in the future, but as of right now, AEW have shelved the idea, but okay, we'll have to wait and see what happens in the coming weeks and months regarding that. Kevin Kelly, lots of people praising him for his commentary at the weekend. With the first episode of AEW Collision in the books, many have already started comparing and contrasting the new weekly show to AEW's flagship program, AEW Dynamite. Undoubtedly, one of the biggest differences between the two shows is the commentary teams, with Collision becoming the first weekly AEW show to not feature head commentator Excalibur whatsoever, instead opting for the two-man booth of Nigel McGuinness and New Japan Pro Wrestling's Kevin Kelly, complemented by the legendary Jim Ross for main event matches. However, due to Kelly's commitment to New Japan, he will be missing from the new show's commentary team throughout the summer, according to Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio. While this may be shocking to some AEW fans, it was expected by fans of New Japan, as the G1 Climax 33 is set to begin next month with full English coverage live from Japan. Easy for me to say. Kelly has been doing commentary for New Japan Pro Wrestling since 2015 and has become the lead English commentator for the promotion in the year since. Meltzer also added that while it remains to be seen if Kelly continues doing commentary for New Japan past the end of his contract, he will, at the very least, remain on board through New Japan's World Tag League 2023 later this year. However, the tour should not affect Kelly's role on Collision as much as the G1's Climax due to English commentary for the World Tag League being fully remote. It remains to be seen who replaces Kelly this summer, but it's hard to imagine that AEW's options are limited. Beyond their large broadcast team that is already featured on AEW and Ring of Honor television, previous on-air talent such as Vader Scott have been suggested by fans to temporarily take Kelly's place on Saturday nights. Of course, if we get an update as to who will replace Kelly this summer, we'll let you know moving forward. Now, a big rumor recently has been CM Punk versus Kenta at Forbidden Door. In the ongoing will they, won't they of a possible Kenta versus CM Punk match at Forbidden Door, Kenta tweeted out a more definitive take on a possible match. Quote, "Kenta versus Punk is never going to happen," the tweet read. Kenta's tweet comes after weeks of the New Japan Pro Wrestling star posting on Twitter alluding to Punk. First, he tweeted that he was free on June 17 before beginning to post that the match would only happen if AEW CEO Tony Khan gave him the bag. Whether or not Punk will be on the card for Forbidden Door at all remains to be seen. The tweet from Kenta came less than half an hour after the premiere of AEW Collision went off the air. On Collision, Punk opened the show with a promo addressing his unfinished business in AEW, including allusions to the Young Bucks and AEW World Champion MJF. Punk also closed the show with a victory in his first AEW match since All Out. Punk teamed up with AEW Tag Team Champions FTR to take on Switchblade Jay White, Juice Robinson and Samoa Joe. Punk scored the win after hitting Robinson with the GTS, but not before having a face-off with his old Ring of Honor rival, the Samoan Submission Machine. Previous reporting held that Punk's first big program on Collision would be against the Ring of Honor World Television Champion. In addition, it's also been reported that Punk has taken a liking to Jay White, who he also shared a ring with in Collision's main event. But the big question is, could he be facing Kenta at Forbidden Door this coming weekend? We'll have to wait and see. Now, speaking of Collision, it debuted this past weekend, and after weeks of anticipation, AEW Collision finally made its debut on Saturday evening. While the show's premiere location, the United Center in Chicago, Illinois, was specifically chosen to complement the return of former AEW World Champion CM Punk, a new report suggests that the premiere date was also intentional. According to Wrestling Observer Radio, AEW hoped to launch their new show on a weekend when there was no other big sporting events taking place. As such, they landed on Saturday, 17th of June. Saturday is going to be a very tough night over the long haul because of all the different forms of competition, Meltzer said on the show. There's going to be almost every week and real bad in the fall and after that. They picked this week to debut because the key sports event are over and there's nothing for a couple of months. So they can build this audience until they know it's going to be very, very tough once college football starts. So they wanted this. It was a very strategic night to pick for the debut of the show. The premiere episode of Collision followed the conclusion of the NBA and Stanley Cup finals, which occurred on June 12th and 13th respectively. A mid-June date also allows Collision some time to get its feet off the ground before the NFL preseason begins in August. In addition to Punk, this week's episode also featured the returns of Andrade El Idolo and Miro, who both emerged victorious in their first matches back with the promotion. Now, in terms of interest levels, we're not going to find out what the ratings are for AEW Collision until actually tomorrow, but the debut episode of AEW Collision took place this weekend, and statistics have now revealed the fan interest levels in the show. With the return of CM Punk to the ring, with a promo that took shots at, among others, the Young Bucks and softer wrestlers. Punk is due to appear reportedly in the upcoming episode of Dynamite this week. Dave Meltzer provided insight into the interest for AEW Collision on the Daily Update. According to Meltzer's research, he states, quote, Collision was the number 10 most searched topic on Google yesterday, although the number listed was 20,000. That would seem to indicate a good rating. I expected a good number with the debut of a new show that has been promoted for a month and CM Punk's return being heavily promoted as well. It's more about the staying power past the novelty, but all indications I had was interest in this show was high. So again, we won't know the ratings until tomorrow, but certainly, according to Meltzer, the Google searches indicate that there is going to be at least a decent rating for the show. Now, MJF is possibly scheduled to face Hiroshi Tanahashi at Forbidden Door, but the World Champion has clapped back at the New Japan Star on Twitter for not being able to recall the AEW World Champion's name. MJF has clapped back at New Japan Star Hiroshi Tanahashi for the inability to remember his name and reinforcing his stance he's not going to be getting a match at Forbidden Door. While the AEW World Champion MJF continues to deny that he will, he is scheduled to defend his title at the Forbidden Door pay-per-view against Hiroshi Tanahashi. Now, the champion has clapped back at Tanahashi after the latter botched the champ's name, revealing why he isn't getting a title shot. After New Japan Star Tanahashi struggled to recall MJF's name, the champion has clapped back in the most legitimate form. With a data set to illustrate his point, MJF brought in a graph to support his sass, writing, quote, It appears people worldwide know how to spell my name much better than yours. That's why you aren't getting a match. While MJF appears to continue to deny that the match will happen, by all official accounts, the match for Forbidden Door has been officially booked. AEW has announced that the AEW World Champion MJF will be putting his championship on the line in a match against New Japan's Hiroshi Tanahashi at the upcoming pay-per-view Forbidden Door. Set for Sunday, June 25th, 2023, Forbidden Door 2023 is rapidly approaching, with a host of big matches already announced for the card. So MJF says the match isn't going to happen, but let's face it, the match is going to happen. Andrade has responded to the House of Black following his intense bout with Buddy Matthews on the debut episode of AEW Collision. Andrade El Idolo had a simple message for Matthews and the House of Black: "See you in Canada." In a backstage interview posted to Twitter, El Idolo issued the message to the House of Black and thanked the AEW fans for their warm reception towards him. On Collision, El Idolo came out victorious over Matthews and went to shake hands with the Trio's champion after the match. However, before a handshake could happen, the lights went out and Brody King and Malachi Black appeared in the ring. King subsequently attacked El Idolo, possibly setting up a trios feud between the House of Black and La Faction Ingobernable. El Idolo wasn't the only triumphant return featured on the debut episode of Collision, with Miro also making his in-ring return against Tony Nese. Miro, who hadn't been seen in action since AEW All Out, squashed Nese in a less than 5-minute match. So El Idolo has got his eyes set, certainly, on the AEW World Trios Champions. Let's talk a little bit about Goldberg. He's been linked with AEW recently. As previously reported, Rick Bassman is working to put together a wrestling show in the country of Israel, centered on the famous Jewish wrestling legend Bill Goldberg. Now details have emerged about what other wrestlers could possibly join Goldberg in the Middle East. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select is reporting that Rob Van Dam, Chris Masters and John Morrison are among the names being courted to take part in the possible show, along with Sting, who had been reported earlier as possibly taking part in the event. Due to the hazy nature of details, it is not clear if the show is being promoted by Bassman or another promoter or company. Goldberg reportedly met with an international promoter during WrestleMania weekend, but details on the meeting are few and far between. Quote, "I don't promote much these days, but every now and then something fun comes up, and it's worth diving into into, Bassman said in an interview last month. So working on a date in Jerusalem, Israel for September of this year, and it would involve potentially both Goldberg and Sting. As of this recording, Bassman had reportedly not received clearance from All Elite Wrestling to use Sting. Goldberg has been a free agent since March when his contract with WWE expired. There have been talks of a retirement tour or match for Goldberg, but nothing confirmed. The former WCW World Heavyweight Champion had initially hoped to have a retirement match in WWE, even rumoured to have made a handshake agreement with Vince McMahon before McMahon's initial retirement last year. Since McMahon's return, it appears that idea has run cold, as Goldberg is now shopping other ideas for a retirement showcase. So, of course, if we get any more details on that, we'll let you know what the plan is moving forward. Bandito could be out of action for a little while. Bandito has suffered a broken wrist. The June 16 episode of AEW Rampage was headlined by a fast-paced and physical match between Konosuke Takeshita and Bandito. Takeshita emerged victorious, however Bandito did not walk out unscathed. In a translated post on his Facebook page, Bandito revealed that he broke his wrist and will need surgery soon. As a result, he's cancelling his upcoming bookings. He stated, quote, "This is cracked. At the AEW Rampage event against Takeshita, I broke my wrist and the first diagnosis has been that it is a triangular fibrocartilage complex injury and I need surgery as soon as possible. On Monday, I will go for the second and final opinion as soon as I have to cancel my closest commitments. An apology to the fans." Bandito made his AEW debut last September prior to signing a contract in November. Since then, he's had matches against Bryan Danielson and Christopher Daniels. He's also challenged for the AEW World Trios and International Championships. In addition to appearances in AEW and Ring of Honor, Bandito has also been working for AAA, PWG, GCW, and WSW in recent months. The 28-year-old was a featured Ring of Honor star prior to Tony Khan purchasing the company in 2022. He began working for the promotion in 2018 after turning down an offer from WWE. Bandito went on to win the Ring of Honor World Six-Man Championships alongside Rey Horus and Flamita in January 2020 before capturing the Ring of Honor World Championship in July 2021 by dethroning Rush. So Bandito could be out of action for quite some time. CM Punk's comments during AEW Collision generated quite a lot of response on social media. He made his long-awaited return to action on the debut episode of the show at the United Center in Chicago, Illinois, this past Saturday. During his promo, the controversial star maybe dissed the Young Bucks, shall we say, and accused some fan-favorite members of the locker room for being soft. Furthermore, the latter statement prompted a response from Lance Archer this weekend. Archer took to Twitter and retweeted the clip from the aforementioned Punk promo and appeared to take umbrage with Punk's statements. Not only that, but the Murderhawk monster implied that Punk has no interest in stepping into the ring with him. Quote, "I'm not soft, but he won't fight me and AEW won't put me in the ring with him," he wrote. Now, Archer last appeared in an AEW ring back in March, defeating Bryce Cannon in an episode of Dark Elevation. He has then competed for the company's sister promotion Ring of Honor in April. Since then, the Murderhawk monster has wrestled for companies such as New Japan Pro Wrestling and Rev Pro, but it remains to be seen when he'll return to AEW on a regular basis. Earlier this month, Archer explained that a torn triceps injury is to blame for his lack of activity in 2023. However, it seems that the AEW star is fit and ready to compete again, and his tweet suggests that he'd like to lock up with Punk in the middle of the ring at some point. So could we see Lance Archer on AEW Collision in the future? One person that we are hoping to see, according to some fans anyway, is Danhausen inside of an AEW ring on Collision. Danhausen revealed on Saturday night via Twitter the reason behind him missing the debut episode of Collision. The episode, of course, took place this past weekend in Chicago. The AEW star replied to a fan that he is injured when asked why he wasn't on Saturday's show. He said, quote, "I am injured. Tell the TV." The last time he was in action was on March 5th at the Revolution pay-per-view, where then AEW World Tag Team Champions The Gun successfully defended the titles against him, Orange Cassidy, The Acclaimed, and Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. Danhausen had got injured in the match at Revolution. He suffered a torn pectoral muscle, so that's why Danhausen is missing at the moment. But there you go, guys. It's the latest AEW news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. Let me know your thoughts, as always, in the comment section below. And I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.